everyone, I'm Emily Ruth and this is my first YouTube video. I'm just gonna have fun with this. It's nothing to be serious. I just want this channel to talk about like anything and everything spiritual, meditations, experiences outside of the norm. I just want stuff like that. I don't want it to be serious. But anyway, I just wanted to share my shamanic journey because I feel like it's just really important to share at this time. Either that one or I'm gonna share how I became a medium, or how I found out I was a medium, I should say. But I'm just gonna do the shamanic journey first because I feel like this is the most important one. It looks like there's something back there, but it's not, I promise. It's the glare. Okay, so I signed up for this shamanic journey at an apothecary shop that I'm friends with, and it was very last minute because I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it, but I felt really excited using my authority for human design people out there. If you want a human design done, you should check out Jen Beverage. She's pretty cool. Anyway, so with this shamanic journey, the shaman that came to the shop for the event was the Atlanta shaman, Dwight, and he's a pretty nice human being. He's pretty nice. And he led us at the event. There was a couple more people, and he led us on this journey, and we started at the fireplace. At this fireplace, we were told to have a bag and to put all the stuff we were not going to bring on our journey. So I put my cat, my black cat, this feather that I have here, a hawk feather. There was this other stone that I saw, kinda, it was blue, greenish looking. I still am not sure, and I see it, but I can't remember the name of it right now. Not important. And then I put my fiance in, and with that, we were gonna go up the mountain. And for some reason, something told me to look back, and I looked back, and one of the people at the event was sitting at the fire and was just staring at the fire. And I was like, "Hey, are you gonna come with us?" And just complete silence. And I was like, okay. But fast forward, when we were sharing about our journey, that lady, she said she didn't see anything, hear anything. She just felt really cold, and I just thought, what a quidinky dink that she was sitting at the fire the whole time. Well, anyway, so hello. Back to the journey. We went up this mountain, and Jesus had greeted me, and I'm not really religious. I'm more spiritual than anything. And it's just interesting, Jesus has shown up in a couple of my meditations lately. And cool being, I will say. Cool light. He's pretty awesome. Anyway, so he took me through, and he took me through the light, and we ended up, my spirit bear Koa, he showed up, and we were just walking along. We were in the jungle. I assumed it was Amazon. Just felt like it. The snake came. It's like a python or anaconda. I'm thinking it was a python every time I tell the story. But Koa didn't like it, so it was like smacking it, but I didn't feel afraid of it, if that makes sense. And as we were walking, this tribe person, I'm not sure if it was a male or female, but it had bangs and it had red paint. And it was looking at me, and it was trying to talk to me, but I couldn't hear anything, so I was like, just looking and shaking my head. So Jesus was like, "We gotta go," and I was like, "Okay, well, I gotta go, bye." And Koa stayed behind with the tribe person, and the tribe was very friendly and waving goodbye. And as we were going, Jesus disappeared, and I ended up in the desert somehow, and I was walking to the pyramid, Egypt. I was in Egypt, and there was Anubis, the jackal god from Egyptian deities, and Horus, which is the bird-like god. Well, the hawk bird-looking god It's the only way I can explain it. So I was in and out of Horus, but I was always looking at the back of Anubis. Never saw its face. I think I might have saw the side, but never really saw its face, or at least I don't remember. But as we were walking in this pyramid, I saw hieroglyphs, and I saw like an Egyptian, it looked like Cleopatra on the wall, and I think I saw Horus and Anubis and the hieroglyphs as well, and a bunch of words. Not really sure what they were. Can't even remember. It was very fast. So we walked into this this vast space where there was a spaceship, and in that spaceship Horus and Anubis were there, and Horus and Anubis kind of disintegrated into these ape-like beings, and then they popped back up into them. So I thought it was interesting because a blue orb came down, but then I ended up in the spaceship somehow, and we flew off out of the pyramid over Egypt and the sand, and I saw this Groot-like being that had scales, feather, and bark, but it was blue. So I'm not really sure what that being was. Still not sure to this day. I ended up somehow on the spaceship in this room, and this being that I've seen before in Reiki appeared. It's a friend, and it was like, oh, have a seat, and we're gonna watch this movie together. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. But this movie was like not on an ordinary screen. It was like in the ceiling, and it was like holographic, but also very real looking. It showed me a scene where there is this nebula, and that's the word that came to my mind, was nebula, and that's usually galaxy clouds around. So all those pretty colors and stuff you see cloud-like in space is called a nebula. And it was very pinkish purple, and you can tell there's the dark universe stuff around it, but just pink. It was just really pretty. And this being was white. It was smaller. It was me, and I was like going in and out of it, and her skin was very soft looking, very white, like this white, but iridescent, just sparkly. And it had eyeballs like us, but like way bigger, like this big, and their heads were a little bit bigger. They only had 2 holes for noses and just straight line for lips. Just dancing with so much joy. And her parents were there, especially her mom. I kind of saw the dad, but not really. And they were dancing, and then all of a sudden they started running. And when they were running, these asteroid comets were like coming down and like kind of destroying the place. And somehow the parents like disappeared, and it was just me, and all I saw, the fear in my eyes as I was watching, was like really big and running for the spaceship that I was in. Then I was back on the ship as me, and so I was like, I wonder what I look like. And I asked the being that was with me, this dude, I asked him, and he was like, oh, okay. He pulls down a mirror, and I pop out of my body, and I float back down to it and float back up. And then I saw this Ponti, who's green. And when I had Reiki done to me, I saw these beings. This being, the Ponti, was dying, which was me. And this was their friend trying to resuscitate, trying to get me alive, but I ended up dying. So that was interesting. But they were there. And so I was like, oh wow, this is interesting. And then I, for some reason, felt like I was getting called back. So I said goodbye to the beings, and thank you for showing me this movie, whatever you want to call it. And I was back at the not at the fireplace. I was back with Horus and Anubis. Anubis was in front of me, and so was Horus, but Anubis was holding the torch, and he just stood there in Horus. And I thought we were walking outside the pyramid, but we ended up walking out of the Sphinx nose. It was like a balcony in some way, and we're looking over the desert sky, but it was nighttime now. And with that, Horus turned into a hawk and showed me its left eye, which was very significant, and it came back down. I was like, okay, you're coming with me. So then I kind of merged in with Horus, and with that, we were looking over the desert, which was like aerial view, and then I saw my mom's house from aerial view, my house from aerial view, and then the shop that I was at, the apothecary shop I was at, also from aerial view. And it ended up back on the fireplace. And at the fireplace, we were told to take out the stuff we didn't want in our bag anymore and throw it in the fire. And the only thing I wanted to take out was that anchor that had all my crap. I pulled out the anchor and I put it in, and then a phoenix flew out, and then something else, but I didn't see that. You know, phoenix is for renewal and whatnot, so I thought that was very interesting. My cat came out the bag, and usually when I see her in astral, she is a lioness, and she wanted to go on the fire but walk on it. And I was like, yo, you can't do that, like you're gonna burn yourself. And somehow she ended up on a grate, and it looked pretty cool because like the fire was coming over the grate. I don't know, it just looked really cool. And so her mom that I have still, my cat's mom, she came out, and I've never seen her in astral ever until that day, and she came out as a puma, and she was kind of vicious at first. I think she didn't want my black cat to be dumb so she was kind of mad at her, but loving towards me because she headbutted me. That loving headbutt cats do. And then my third cat that I have, she's usually a blonde, long hair, long blonde in real life, but in astral she's a tiger. But this time I saw her, she was huge, like gigantic tiger, and she shrunk down to her teeny tiny self. And then when I looked back at the other two cats, they shrunk down to themselves. And then I saw my past dog that died a couple years ago, and I saw a dog that I have now and some other past animals, and my bear Koa came and the snake came, and it was very lovely, and I was just like, thank you, and felt very loved. And it was time to go, so I was going back down on my body, and there was a pause. It was like intervention, and it was kind of blurry, but I saw this being. It was green, looked like an alien, and it was like, wait, don't forget. And the symbol it showed me kind of blew my mind. I couldn't remember how to draw it, so I drew it both ways, and I was out of it. And when I told the shaman when we were talking about our journeys, he was kind of speechless, and all he could say, you're gonna have to find out what that means for you. So I was left with a lot more questions than answers. So after the journey, I was like, okay, I gotta find out what all this is. So I was trying to find symbols, couldn't really find that symbol in particular, so I kind of gave up on that right then. So I showed the symbol to the friend that owns the shop, and she was like, oh, these look like these symbols but together. She was like, maybe you should ask, Will and Allison Brown for their collective. Maybe they can get you answers. And Allison is a BQH practitioner as well as I am, and her husband Will is a channeler, has a collective of archangels and maybe some ETs, and he's also a medium, but he does they do free channeling sessions once a month that you can sign up for via Zoom or in person if you live in that area. But I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, that would be a good question to ask, to see if, we get symbols that are light language from, other beings. So I kind of forgot to ask them, so because I was too involved in trying to figure out what these beings were. And the iridescent white soft looking being, I think is an Andromedan, which is interesting because I know I have past life in Andromeda. And I didn't know about the green being. I found out Horus and Anubis were half brothers, and that the left eye of Horus is for healing. So I thought that was very interesting. And the tribe, the Amazon tribe, was the Matthias tribe that I saw. So I'm not really sure what my connection is with that tribe, but I just thought it was interesting. So during that time, I was like, okay. So something told me, I was like, I need to message Will and Addison Brown. So I did, and I told her about how I came about this being that gave it the symbol to me. And they're like, oh, maybe it's like, Will looked at it, he was like, maybe this is energetic and like aligning you, it looks like, just because of the circles and stuff. And I was like, oh, maybe, cool. So when it came to the channeling time, Allison always directs all the questions from everybody. She has them pre-written before, and she asked the collective through the channeler Will. And when she came to ask, she asked about my symbols, the symbols of, are they light languages? Every symbol that we see. And the collective person that answered was, I guess, their Zeta being that they have, Williams. And he said, what an intriguing question. Anything can be light language, and it comes from a thought, and that thought comes from somewhere. And I thought that was interesting. So she asked about the symbol, since she had that being there. She asked about the symbol, and that symbol is to energetically align me. And that symbol came from the being, the green being, which is a hybrid Sirius from Sirius. And I was like, interesting. So I call him Green Bean, because that's what I call that being. But the green bean comes from Sirius, and he gave me that symbol. But that symbol is the first of many, and I shouldn't let it go to my head, but I'm to use those symbols for everyone, and myself included. So I was like, what? And as he said that, the channeler said that, I got images of 2 more symbols, which I'm not going to share at this time, but it was just wild. I was like, what? And I showed the channeler and stuff at the end on the Zoom. I was like, look, these are the symbols that I drew, and it's pretty freaking amazing. So the next night, the night of the channeling, I went to sleep, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and I saw this cat being, a little cat, if you ever seen cats sitting like humans, like that's how it was. And it was like shaking his tail, and it was looking straight at me, and I was like, okay, I see you, I'm just gonna deal with this in the morning. So I went back to sleep and woke up the next day and went to meditation. The meditation I did, I assumed it was a Lyran because it's a cat being, so I was like, gotta be from Lyran. And I meditated with a meditation with that, and this Lyran was here. Her name is Hyla, and she's here as one of my guides, a new guide to help me with the symbols that I'm going to be receiving. And I was just like, what? And then I also saw, as soon as I got out of the meditation, I also saw a symbol for friendship. And I was just like, what? This is wild. It was just really amazing. So then I started looking up Sirius beings, and it ended up reading some things that Sirius and Lyrans work together. And when Sirius beings communicate, they usually use dogs or snakes. So I did see a snake, and the jackal, the god Anubis. And they also worked through the Egyptians, which I thought was what a quidinky dink. And that gorilla beings also come from the Sirius constellation. So I was just kind of mind blown. But since then, I have received about 7 or 8 more symbols as of yet, and I've kind of figured out their meanings so far. So it's just been a wild ride, and I'm just so glad I was able to share my shamanic journey through you. And that's just my third channeling I've ever had done. One private, two group setting, so this was my third one. But I was just mind blown, and it's just amazing how one little thing can trickle down into something you wouldn't even think was possible. So yeah, thank you for listening if you listen to this, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day. And if you ever want to find out what I do, just visit emilyruthhealer.com, or you can visit my social medias, which is TikTok and Instagram, emilyruthhealer. And yeah, hope everyone has a wonderful day.